Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about premium knives. Oh my goodness. Yeah, get a lot of questions about premium knives. What is a premium knife? What's considered a premium knife? How do you tell the difference between a premium knife and a regular knife? Are premium knives worth it? A lot of different questions I get. We're going to try to answer all of those in the upcoming video. Regardless, got some cool knives here to show. It's going to be a good video, and I hope you really enjoy it. Go ahead and check out the video. All right, welcome back to the fortified castle. Hi to all my viewers. Bonjour, privet, guten tag, hola, ciao, konnichiwa, and good day, mate, to my foreign viewers. Before we get into this interesting subject of premium knives, this knife right here is not a premium knife. It is a Demco 20.5. I showed it in a video a while ago, and really wasn't a kind of a soft introduction to this knife. Not very enthusiastic about it, but I wanted to give you an update on it after I've been carrying this knife for a while. I like it. It is a nice knife. And things I like about this knife is it has a real good feel to it. So it feels just solid, solid little knife. This particular model had the AUS 10 blade. I don't mind it at all. It works pretty good. No problem sharpening it. One problem I had with this knife was this shark lock. It takes a little getting used to, but yeah, I like it now. And so, it just took a little bit of getting used to. I like to close it like this. It's easy for me to do it that way. I'd recommend that to you. Guys who have stronger hands, moving that shark lock like that works well. So anyhow, I just wanted to update it. I like it. It's worth it. I'd buy one. Think it's worth the $119 that you pay for these. It comes in D2, comes in a bunch of different blade steels. But yeah, okay. So let's get into the premium knife. Okay, so not to be facetious, but what is a premium knife? It's a knife you pay a little bit more for. That's why it's called premium. It's not a hard concept for Americans, at least, to understand because we're consumer orientated. And we know, if you want a better TV, you pay a little bit more for that TV. You want a little better car, you pay a little more for that car. It's a premium, and you pay a premium to get something that's a little better. One thing is, I don't really find that that is the case with premium knives, and so we'll be talking about that. So, and that's one of the questions: is a premium knife always better? And I don't think so. And not only that, I think in some cases you get a premium knife at a budget price. And so we'll talk about that a little bit and how that works in the upcoming video. Um, I do, I think we need to just start at the basics on this subject. You really need a base before we talk about all the particularities of premium knives. And so let's start there with the history of premium. All right, so the history of premium knives. Traditionally, knife collectors have recognized four categories of knives. One is an inexpensive knife. One is a factory knife. One is a premium knife, and what is a custom knife. So, what does that look like? Well, inexpensive knife, I think we all know what those knives are. I'm not going to show you one of those. Very, very cheap knives, and they have their purpose. you're going camping, you forgot your knife, you go into the gas station and you pay a few bucks and just get a knife so that you have a cutting blade. Inexpensive knife. Those, by the way, are factory knives. They're just made really inexpensively. The next category is your factory knife. So that's kind of like your regular old case here, or any number of knives that you want to pick out. They're well made, they're rugged, they're durable, they'll do good. Just an average knife, okay? Sometimes they got problems, sometimes they don't. They just, it's going to perform really well for you. Not a lot of thoughts put into these knives, and the thing about them is it's just like any other knife. So that's a factory knife. One step up from that is a premium knife. And so that concept of itself means that it's a cut above. And so it's a factory made knife, but it's a cut above. It's a lot better made. And I have a really good example for that right here. This is a Robeson produced between 1920 and 1910 and 1920. And this is one of the best knives I have in my collection. It's not a custom knife, but it's made in a factory to very high level. And this knife sold for about 5 times what a normal knife would sell for. So to start with, it functions the way it should be, and so it's a very smooth knife. The action on this knife is fantastic and works really well. If you look inside here, you can see how there's a very high mirror polish on the back of the back springs right there. That's what you're looking at, the back of the back spring. And every piece of metal on this knife is mirror polished. You can see it there. Any piece of metal that you can see. And it's a very deep mirror polish. Look at that right there. Very, very deep mirror polish on this knife. Absolutely gorgeous. And besides that, you have a beautiful grade mother of pearl on this knife. Now, sometimes you'll find that on factory-made knives. A much higher level of handle material, in this case, mother of pearl. Sometimes, not. And you can see the milling on this knife too. Just phenomenal all the way around on this knife. Here's another one. This is another Robeson from about the same time period, 1910 to 1920s. And just a beautiful, beautiful example of a knife. But it just has regular bone here. But bone sometimes can be a premium type of handle material. All depends on how it's done. But if you look on this knife, it has milling on it. And so this is a cut above what you would normally find on a factory knife. This knife is precision made. If you look real close at that shield, look how there's like a cross hatch pattern, and it's a 3D print of the Mastercraft on there. It looks like the Mastercraft is actually above the 3D pattern inside there. Just amazingly done. The craftsmanship on this knife is fantastic. You have nickel silver liners, which was a premium upgrade to knives over the brass. And this is not quite as fancy as this one, but that's the way it is with premium knives. Sometimes you get really fancy, almost like a custom. Another time, it's just pretty much a normal knife, just made really, really well. And that's what premium was. The last category is custom knives. Knife collectors for a long time considered custom knives to be the top level of knife making. These are usually done with very precise craftsmanship. Um, all kinds of things can be found in these. You can have engraving, work bolsters, work back on the knives, special handle materials. In this case, this is genuine stone, so that's genuine turquoise in this thing, and beautiful inlaid um, uh, work here, arrowheads and buffalo, perfectly done, by the way. And that's what you expect out of a custom type of knife. Okay, so for most of the 20th century, that's what we considered. A premium knife was just a knife that was above the rest, and the custom knives were at the top of the knife collecting experience, the best that you could get. After the new millennium, 2000, everything got turned on its head. So now that's where we are today, and I'll tell you why it can be kind of confusing talking about premium knives now. So you have all those categories that we talked about now. You have inexpensive knives, you have factory knives, you have premium knives, and you have custom knives. But what's really turned the industry on its head is technology. So after 2000, technology and the pace of technology really progresses uh, very fast, and that has turned the knife industry upside down. So why is that? Well, we've got a whole new category of knives. Some people have talked about this category. Um, it's not, I don't think it's codified, written down anywhere, but we recognize it. And that's a brand new category in between premium knives and custom knives, and that's the semi custom knife. And that is a whole new category developed based upon the technology that knife companies are using. And what that has allowed knife companies to do is to produce a premium knife, which usually, cost a lot more for a lot less. And so this knife right here, I would put it into that category. And this is a knife produced by Rosecraft with a premium handle material on here, stag, and very finely made knife here, very precisely made. And the knife goes for, well, this one I got for $60, but these knives, the new ones coming out, can be had for around $70, $80, and they're just perfect, basically. Perfect knife, beautiful finishes on these knives, and it's because of the technology they employ. So um, some of the differences, how you can tell a premium knife. This knife right here, it's in micarta. Micarta is probably it's a synthetic material. It's probably at the top of the synthetic materials. Micarta is very, very strong, and so it's a great material, handle material. And usually you pay more for micarta scales on a knife. And this knife has a D2 blade, so it's a QSP knife, very nicely done, very good knife, D2 blade. And this is kind of like your average factory knife. And if you look here, the spacer for the clip, you notice that the screws kind of poke out a little. They're not inset. And otherwise, this is a pretty good knife. It has good action, really smooth action on this knife. It's basically drop shutty. It doesn't fall, but you just shake it a little bit. Very smooth action on this knife. And it was in the $50 range. So what's the difference between these two knives? Well, this was a factory knife, and this I would consider a premium knife. This is a Kaiser, and if we look at this real quick, you have again micarta, linen micarta this time on the scales of this, but it's a lot different than the other knife. So all of these attachment hardware is recessed on this knife, including if you look down, you see the hardware is recessed right there, which makes it easier to pocket. Not only that, the I've been using this knife, by the way. I've used it a lot, but had a mirror polish on the clip right here. You can still see it. So there's a very nice mirror polish on the clip. If you look at the liners were mirror polished. I'm not sure whether that's shown up here. The spacers are mirror polished. The mirror polish extends into the knife. You can see the reflection right there. How you can see the stuff down below there in the reflection of the liners. Very, very nicely done. Everything's mirror polished on this knife. Butter smooth action on this knife. So when you close it, it just falls. Look at that. Just butter smooth action on it. And another thing is, even, this is kind of a hallmark on these premium knives, is even the finer details. Like they put some jimping in this area here, which you don't need to do. But when they put it in, they also mirror polish this. And so I'm not sure that's coming out, but that little jimping is mirror polished. And that's just an incredible little detail on a knife. And that's the difference between a premium knife and just a regular knife right here. And so when you go up from that, if you look at this knife right here, made by the same company, all these, you can see it right there as I move my thumb, it's mirror polished. So the attachment hardware is mirror polished on this knife. You also, it's anodized. That's something you'll find on nowadays on custom knives. You'll find that they're anodized. These are titanium scales on this. You'll find that on custom knives. This is a semi-custom knife. It's made in a factory to a very high level of precision and finish on this knife. All these offsets are mirror polished. The anodization wraps around onto the edges and is very well done. Action, of course, is very smooth on this knife. You can see the micro groove on the titanium. Sometimes that alone would be found on a custom knife. And all of these features are possible because of the modern technology that we use today. And so this is a semi-custom knife. You can also call it a premium knife because it is, but it's really above a premium level. And you see the difference between premium, which is a very well-made knife, cut above the rest, but the semi-custom is almost like a custom knife. In some cases, these semi-custom knives can actually be better than a custom knife. And that's the thing that has really, thrown the knife community on its head. Here's a knife I bought for $58. It's a QSP. You have a fat carbon fiber, which is a high-grade handle material on this knife. And this knife is just incredibly finely made. You can see the mirror polish on the top square right there. And when you open this knife, it's half stop, completely smooth on the half stop here. Very well made. Very nice high polish finish on this knife. It is it's not a mirror polish. It's a brushed stainless finish on this knife. But it's done extremely well. You hear the action on it, and if you look, the tang is mirror polished. The back of the back spring down there in the throat, you see that is mirror polished. And $68, and this is all because of technology that they can do it like that. Okay, so the ability of companies to produce these very fine knives with technology that has reduced the price of them has really confused things. Where you on some in some situations you get a knife that should be, you pay let's say $300 for the knife, but it's really not done very well. And so that's a case where a knife might be overpriced. Benchmade does that a lot, Benchmade knives. I'm not saying they're bad knives. I've got some Benchmades. Here's one right here. A good example of a good premium knife. You got G10 scales here. The knife is done very well. It's a brushed stainless look on this knife, but I would consider this a premium knife. It's done extremely well. Beautiful, beautiful knife. But sometimes, Benchmade will take a base knife and all they do is change the handle material, and then they're upping the price, tremendously for the knife. And that's a situation where I'd say, they're not always a premium knife. And that's another problem that you see. Here is a queen knife. Very nice stag on this knife. Very nice knife. But I wouldn't consider this knife really a premium knife. The action on it, isn't the greatest. Now, it's not bad. Okay, I'm not saying this is bad. I like this knife. I think it's a well-made knife, but I don't think this knife really just falls into the level of a premium knife. You look down in here in the back of the back spring you're looking at there, and it's cleaned up some, but it's awful rough, as you can see down in there. Just really kind of rough. And so I wouldn't necessarily say this rises to the premium level. Good knife, and that's the thing about these categories is there's some wide variation. So you can get a production knife like this, which is on the top. I'd say it's on the top of the factory level, but to me it just doesn't reach that level to be called a premium knife. Here's another one from Bear & Son. And this knife has extremely smooth action. If you look right here, there is just a little bit of stepping there. It's not perfect. Just a little bit of stepping. Great lock up on this. You hear that, and you can see the difference between those two. Inside there, that's done extremely well. The back of the back spring, really nicely cleaned up. Good transitions. This is a knife that I could consider as being a premium knife, even with the stepping not being perfect on the back there on the half stop. And so just a little difference in the construction of the knife. Even though, this is a premium upgrade. The stag over wood would be a premium upgrade on the knives, but the overall function of the knife just doesn't quite hit it. You can see right there, looks pretty good, but there's some bobbles in there. There's a bunch of bobbles in this knife, little fine details, and that's the difference between a premium knife and a knife that's not premium, is the little fine details in the knife. You take this knife right here. This is a Boker knife. You have a very high-end micarta scale here, burlap micarta, and then copper pins, copper liner, copper bolsters on this. Has an 01 tool steel, which is, it's still a tool steel, but it's an upgrade over D2 or 1095, for instance. And so I would put this in that category. You look on the inside, very nice on the inside there on the tang. And I would consider this a premium knife. And, largely because the materials used and it's well made. So it's kind of a dual thing. So it's not always just the materials that makes a premium knife. The base of a premium knife is how it's made. This knife right here, very smooth action on this knife, good design on this knife, Rough Rider Reserve, perfect action, very smooth, beautiful, beautiful transitions there. You can't even tell the transition. And so it's just a very well made knife. You look down inside there, nicely cleaned up, polished. You've got a half stop here and a very, very smooth half stop on this knife. And yeah, I'd consider that a premium knife. And normally you might think a premium knife has special materials in it. My card, I don't know that we would consider that special materials, but it is again at the top of the synthetic line of handle materials. That's what this one had here, my Carta. Same thing. But here you have the copper, and I just think that's a fantastic addition to a knife. These aren't terribly expensive, though. I mean, even at their most expensive, these are around $140. Really affordable compared to a lot of knives like these, which are, in the hundreds of dollars that you pay for knives like these normally. I want to wrap this up really quick, but here's a case. Beautiful knife. I love this knife. Beautiful example of stag on this knife. Great coloring. But if you look at this knife, it's a lot of gapping here. It's kind of minor, but there is a lot of gapping on this knife, and it really just wasn't put together properly. And so this one blade is really bent over, and it's just not an example of a fine piece of craftsmanship, even though it has premium materials in it. And so I would not consider this a premium knife, mainly because of the way it's built. You look at this knife right here, it's a Boker. You have stag, just like this stag down here on the knife, but there's no gapping on this knife. Very smooth action. Very smooth transition here on the backstop. Snap in. You've got some stamping here that is gilded in gold. Very nicely done. And I would consider this a premium knife. Very nice mirror polish on this knife. All the way around. And so, basically the difference, both these knives have premium materials like the stag, but this is just made to a much better level than most of your factory knives. And that to me is what a premium knife is. Here's another one, a modern one. So this I consider a premium knife. You have titanium materials. That's a high grade metal material, DLC coated. Look how smooth and clean the back of the locking mechanism on this knife. Butter smooth. This is a hand done blade. It was not done by a machine, done by Michael Ziba, with a really nice lightning bolt design on the DLC coated blade. And so a lot of special things about this knife, but overall it's just one of the best knives I've seen in a long time as far as how it's manufactured. Really interesting and different clip on this knife with the dragon tail clip on it. and just a very smooth knife. Magna cut steel on this knife with a nice bronze accent here along the pivot pin. So yeah, this is not your normal everyday knife. Neither one of these are. This is probably a higher grade knife, definitely a lot more expensive than this knife right here, mainly because of the titanium scales, vice the micarta scales on this knife. But this knife right here actually can reach into the semi-custom category. Here's another one. This is another Michael Ziba. Here you have micarta, but the accents are all anodized on this. You have the liners are anodized. Very, very nicely made on this knife. The action on this knife is just perfectly smooth. You have some really nice geometry on this blade. As you can see, not only is it nice geometry, but notice the finishes on it. So you have a stone wash on the let's see if I can lock this in. You have stone wash finish on your grind, and then on the top where you have your swedge, it's stone wash too, and then the flats are a nice I'll think about it here in a minute. A nice I can't think of that for to save my soul. You know what I'm saying? I can't think of it. Anyhow, yeah, the liners, you see, it's not just on the top of the liners, they go all the way down. So that's anodized liners all the way through on there. And just a beautiful modern traditional design there. It is a half stop, and it is a slip joint knife, and so you can see that's just perfectly smooth there. Really nice, premium knife, and that's what you're gonna see in premium knives. It's the detail, right? It's the little things. They're just a cut above, any of the production models of knives. Beautiful, smooth, well done. Back springs here, polished. Blade is polished on this. Great mirror polish. Look at that polish on it. Just beautiful. And this is done from the factory. So just a premium job on a sack. So, premium knives can be pretty much anything. Has a lot to do with how these knives are made. Here's a GEC, nice Coca-Cola, not the most premium handle material, but pretty nice and well done. And it's the craftsmanship on these knives that set them apart. It's a craftsmanship. All right, so that's what a premium knife is. A lot of different categories of knives. Basically, a premium knife, you can tell the difference because the craftsmanship on the knife. It's often they're going to have premium materials like stag on them. Maybe work on the back spring or on the bolster, something like that. But just because they have a premium material like stag doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be a premium knife. It's both. It's materials and craftsmanship together that makes the difference between a premium knife. When you get up to semi-custom, semi-custom knives are going to have one or more materials that a custom knife might have. And custom knives are going to have, upgraded materials on these knives. In this case, you have genuine mammoth tooth here that it's just gorgeous. Genuine mother of pearl, genuine onks, set precisely, and this is just a fantastic knife right here. And that's what you find in custom knives, which separate them from the semi-custom knives. But again, some folks don't think custom knives are particularly the best knives made out there. But that's what a custom maker is trying to achieve. He's trying to achieve perfection, and it's done on an individual basis by a factory basis. This is a custom here, beautifully done, mother of pearl. Look at the really finely worked back there. This is done by hand. All this work is done by hand on this knife. Superior action, superior. Look at the deep mirror work done on this blade. All right. So I hope you all have enjoyed the video. A lot of cool knives here. I hope it made sense to you and was informative to you. Give you something to go on when you're looking for a premium knife and trying to decide whether it's, worth paying more for a knife over another knife. And hope you all have wonderful holidays, a Merry Christmas, and I hope your new year is fantastic too. New start, new year, new start. I love having New Year. Isn't that great that we could just start over, start everything new at the start of the year? Thanks again. Thanks for all your support.